Of course, a crucial election year for the US with the vote coming through in November. Kriti, what are the details? What do we know at this point?
Well, look, about a year ago, he was actually indicted on the criminal charges in New York. Now it looks like, to your point, the finances are coming to haunt him. Look, it gets a little nerdy. Stick with me here. But this has everything to do with a civil fraud suit in the state of New York where he owes $454 million. To your point, how does he pay for it? Well, there's some legality here that suggests you can't just pay the $454 million. There's interest involved. You need collateral of about 100 to 120% of the bond value itself. That means he actually owes something closer to something like $600 million. Now, Tom, even for a billionaire, that is a lot of money. And that's really where things get a little bit tricky, because that deadline comes obviously today, and it comes at a time when the companies, he calls them about 30 or so, that traditionally provide this kind of payment are saying that his collateral is not enough. Now, traditionally, real estate isn't used as collateral for this kind of bond payment because of all of the real estate risk that's actually involved with that. So kind of as a sure thing, they insist on cash. Now, $600 million, again, is really a large amount to have stored in your piggy bank there. And that's kind of the point that he's taking, which is simply that on the one hand, he can't even afford to do this. He might actually call for bankruptcy, although the question is, will the judge actually see through that and say, well, this is really a way to get out of your loan obligations? The other option is for it to trigger some sort of fire sale, which all of a sudden creates an even more scrutiny into what his real estate and even his Mar-a-Lago estate, not to mention the kind of stakes that he has in New York commercial real estate, are actually worth. And Tom, you and I know he's famously kind of in the dark about what that's actually worth.
Yeah, so you're talking some of his big brand properties then that could ultimately be on the table, potentially. So not just as simple as selling down some of those assets, or that's what it could come to? I mean, how much kind of financial peril does this ultimately leave him in? He's been able to duck and dive a lot of this stuff. Does he duck and dive this one as well?
Unclear, and both options seem a little scary here, because to your point, some of these kind of famous assets, think of Trump Tower, for example, on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. We don't know what these finances are worth, and he's already, the civil fraud suit has to do with asset valuation. So all of a sudden, you have even more scrutiny to what these properties are worth. On the other hand, is he able to get some sort of financing from a friend, get financing from a foreign government, for example? That instigates some campaign finance rules in terms of how much is for a friend, how much of this is in support of potentially the future president of America. So your guess is as good as mine, stuck between a rock and a hard place.